Welcome to the Jack Dara Show. Today we have with us someone I look up to. I've been connected with Mr. Hanif for quite some time, and then I approached him to have a discussion, have an interview, so we can see through what he's doing and what he's applying and how it can benefit our audience. So please help me welcome Mr. Hanif Khan. Thank you for being with us.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for listening.
Now, let me tell you a bit more about Mr. Hanif. He's a strategic advisor as well as an investor on Property Filter. Also, he is a part of a company that is touching 50 million in revenue. Also, he is a strategic investor advisor on many other companies. He advises many people that have been a part of our show previously. I've interviewed many other prolific investors, and he actually mentors them as well. So I'm really, really glad to have you on the show, Hanif sir.
Glad to be here, and hopefully we can share some stuff that will help the audience.
Yes. So tell me, how did you start? Like, what was the starting point of thinking, okay, I am made to be an investor?
Okay, so about 23 years ago now, I was working in IT in corporate, and my daughter was about to be born. And I was like, though I'm paid well, I want flexibility. I want to be able to play with her whenever she wants to play, take her to schools and all those kind of things. So how am I going to do that? The only way I could think of is if I worked for myself. I looked at lots of different businesses, and eventually I saw that the most flexible and easiest and quickest to build profits and revenue and so on was property. So I basically left my job and started doing BRR, buying refinance or flipping them on. And I started doing that. And once I got into that, I realized quickly that I didn't have money. So I was like, okay, how do I do deals? I need to do creative stuff. So then I created lease options. So we were the first people to make lease options in the UK and make them legal and structure them correctly. And then from then, I just really got into loving doing creative stuff. And we did lots of different creative strategies over the years. And that was really my property journey. And then about 15 years ago, I decided I wanted to do more things, different things. So I stopped teaching property, still carried on doing property and build our own portfolios and so on. But I flipped into different businesses. So we created, for example, a business selling plasterboard and plaster to B&Q and Screwfix and Travis Perkins and all those guys. And we grew that from 0 to sort of 30 million in 2 years. Then we also started doing makeup products to Harrods, Boots, Selfridges, and all those kind of people. And we were in every major retailer in the UK, apart from the supermarkets. Those are the only ones we didn't sell into. And Poundland and people like that. Although we did sell them a little bit, but not really. So really, that's kind of the background. And then about 5 years ago now, another daughter was about to be born, and my wife and I decided we didn't want to work anymore, so we worked together, and we chilled. I got bored after a year and a bit, and that's when we sort of launched brand scaling, which is what you were talking about, which basically helps companies to scale really fast. And Property Filter is one of those. We have an equity stake in it, and we've helped it to grow really, really fast. And that's our thing now. We don't really run our own businesses, but we help other businesses grow really fast with generally having an equity stake in those companies at the same time.
That sounds amazing. Here is a question for you, which I struggle with it as well. Is getting bored, can getting bored be an asset in and itself, or is it just a liability?
A really good question. So when I first started in business, it was a liability because every 3 years I'd get bored and want to do something else. And I remember we had a training business that was making millions of pounds in profit, and I was just like, I don't want to do this no more. And I just said, that's it. And 3 months later, we closed it down. I didn't sell it, didn't do anything because it had been structured around me. So what I realized at that point when I went to sell it, there was like, well, there's no value unless you're part of it. We can't sell it to anyone else. So it was a liability. However, that forced me to rethink the way I set up businesses. So now whenever I set something up, I know I'm going to be bored in 2 to 3 years. So right from day one, I create a team that's going to grow it and carry it on without me. And I plan my exit from day one. So I plan how I'm going to do less and less uh, in that business from day one. And the thing that I really enjoy and find most, that really sort of floats my boat is the initial strategy, putting it together, thinking about how it's all going to structure and creating a product that's different for the market, that's different in some way, and that really is unique and defensible. And then once you've got that, the flywheel itself just carries on running, and the business will keep growing with or without you if you've done it right. And that's basically now because I know that I have this problem or liability where I get bored, I build businesses much more robust and able to grow without me. Most people do is they grow a business around them. And, that's normal because they're thinking they're still going to be running this business in 20 years' time. Because I know I'm not, I just redesign my businesses in a different way. And it's worked really well for us.
Good. Okay, so if let's say you were given a tech business, and if you were to scale it to, let's say, a 9-figure, let's say 100 million, what are the first 3 things you would look at to be able to create that snowball effect of that product or the service?
Okay, so I'll give you an example of something. We've never done 100 million, but we've done 1 to 50 million per annum in rev. So I'll tell you exactly what we kind of did for that. So the first thing is we looked for a problem that the customer had that needed to be solved. And it was a big problem that a lot of people would have. So in this particular case, it was consent forms that whenever you go into any kind of beauty parlor, aesthetic place, dentist, you need to fill out a consent form and fill it. And previously, those were all done by paper-based things. So we created an app that allowed the customer to do that via a digital consent form. And that was the initial idea. So initially, what you need to do is solve a really good big problem that's really easy, and you make the process in terms of your solution way easier than the current one. And that's basically what we did. But that's not enough because other people will copy. Plus, how do you get it? The biggest problem I see with businesses is they struggle with a go-to-market strategy. How do you actually get your product out there without spending millions in advertising? So on that particular business, for example, in order to get to sort of £4-5 million a month, we had zero advertising spend. Because what I always try to do is something called it's our own thing. It's what we use, which is called built-in virality. So we build virality into the product itself and the way it works. So let me give you an example with Faces. So Faces Consent is that particular app that I'm talking about. So in that, when you do a consent form, normally I could have sent someone a copy of a consent form that they could fill in. Once they fill that consent form in, it then goes to the clinic. But what we did instead is we sent a link to that consent form. So they then came onto so every time they gave a customer a consent form, that customer didn't just get the consent form, they got the link to our app. And because a lot of other clinics and practitioners they get facials and stuff from other clinics, and it's quite normal, like a hairdresser goes to another hairdresser to get their hair cut. They very quickly were like, oh, what are you using? Okay, I'll use it too. So because of that, we virally spread through that industry and beyond really, really quickly. But that was because the way you use the product encouraged more people to use the product, and that's basically what built-in virality is. And all the businesses we have, we we engineer that into the businesses from the beginning, and we found that those work really well to give you growth. So the biggest, unless you're going to go raise, 100 million quid from Y Combinator or in Silicon Valley, in order to be able to grow a business and grow it significantly, you have to have another way of acquiring customers that does not require advertising. And built-in virality is what we generally use. We use other stuff too. For example, I can tell you with um, that we use a number of different frameworks together. So there's another framework that we use, which is called Fuse. And in that framework, we use it to fuse your business into another company's business, so that as they do business, it automatically brings you clients.
Brings you
We,
business.
yeah, so we did that with Property Filter, for example. So with Property Filter, we went to Simon Zucci and I said, look, you have a problem. You train all these people and then they can't find property deals. We have a solution. This software is really awesome, and it allows you to find motivated motivated sellers really easily. We will integrate into all of your courses by creating a module, teaching people how to use it and how to go find deals. So you can bolt that into your existing courses and any new courses that you do to make it easier for your guys to be able to find deals. And we'll give them a free trial so that they can use our software and see how good it is. And then if they like it, they'll stay. And because of that, that's basically built-in virality again, but fused it into the business. So now every time Simon runs a course, we get people starting to use our software and signing up and paying for it. So it's really about understanding how you run your businesses in that way to really, and that's what's led to the phenomenal growth we've had in that. But we use it on more than one occasion. It's not just one thing. You do it in lots of parts, and those are just some of the frameworks that we use.
Yeah. That sounds good. I came across, I mean, I started working on the virality bit about probably 8 or 9 years ago, because I understood social media. Well, to some extent, you can never understand social media completely. But at the same time, one of the challenges that I'm finding is, which again correlates to what you just said, is it's almost, I'm just thinking of the right word, maybe like homeostasis, like your body starts to use less energy if you just eat less, right?
Yep.
Likewise, when you look at a business, your customer acquisition cost keeps increasing, and then people become, they're like the sensitivity towards your service or your product, the more you market, becomes less so, and then that also means the acquisition cost increases and so on and so forth. So over a period of time, it just becomes a bit more of a treadmill when you look at any product or a service, especially over a sustained period of 3 years or longer. How do you deal with that? I hope I was trying. It's a difficult.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Basically, if you're advertising on Facebook, the costs keep going up and up and up and up, right, over time. So that's why I'm saying a lot of what we do doesn't require advertising.
Mm-hmm.
And we purposely design the businesses so that they won't. We will occasionally use advertising to boost something, a specific campaign or something, right? But in general, the way we design our businesses is they're solving a problem in a unique way compared to everyone else. I'll give you an example. Years ago, we were the very first people to create same-day remortgages. So I'm not sure how long you've been in property, but you weren't able to do an instant mortgage on the same day. So we'd buy the
Back in the
property.
days, no, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we created that, and I wanted to create a product where we could do that. And the problem at the time was, if you went to a bank, this was before banking apps and so on, it took 5 to 7 days for the money to be transferred to your solicitor and then to get the money back, which meant your money would be tied up for ages.
Yeah.
So I went to Lloyd's Bank and I said to them, I want the money instantly into my lawyer's account and back from my lawyer's account. And they said, oh, we can't do that. And I said, but my lawyer gets the money instantly when I send it to them. And they go, yeah, that's because they've got a lawyer special account. And I went, okay, can I have a lawyer special account? And they went, but you're not a lawyer. And I said, yeah, does it matter? And they went, well, actually, it doesn't matter. So they created me a equivalent account of how a law firm's account worked, which then meant we were able to send the money and get it back within a minute, which allowed us to do a lot more same day remortgages, because I could use the same 200 grand to do 50 deals in a day if I wanted, right?
Yeah.
Rather than 5 million quid, right? So what you have to do is you have to create a product that's completely different to everyone else in the market. So now our cost was almost zero to deliver this service. So there were other people charging 5,000, 6,000 to, to borrow you the money and then do it. We set up the same day remortgage, 500 quid. We'll buy the property for you for cash. We'll set up the remortgage on the other end, and happy days, you're good to go, and it'll all be done in a day, right? And we'd structure the remortgage on the same day and everything, so it all worked. And because our cost was so much lower than everyone else, no one else could compete. They didn't understand what we'd done and how we'd done it. They were thinking we had millions and millions and millions in the bank, when in fact we did the same 200K just over and over again. So what you've got to figure out is, how can you do things differently? So either your costing is completely different. Also, our speed was completely different, so everybody wanted to do it with us. So your product itself has to be unique and way better than everything in the market.
Yes. It can't be a little better. It has to be way better.
Yeah, the data actually shows it needs to be 10 times better. 10 times better than what's currently in the market in the way that people are doing, if you want it to grow quick. So if you want people to move from your product to that, from how they're doing things now to your product has to have a 10 times advantage over what they're currently doing. So again, if you look at Property Filter, because I know quite a lot of your community will see that, compared to trying to find a deal on Rightmove, it's way more than 10 times more efficient. It saves you time, at least 10 times. You can see things that you can't see on Rightmove. How many times the deal's fallen over, for example. You can see what kind of problems they've got with the property itself, and link that all in through that same data. So it gives you insights that you would not be able to do no matter how much you spent in time with Rightmove. So it's 10 times better, and that's why it works. And every business we have and that we work with, that's the first thing I sit down with them and figure out how we can create this 10x better product in some aspect of what the customer wants.
Here is a correlated question to this. Now, I have been running businesses since the age of 14. I'm 45, over 30 years. I have worked with roughly about 8 billionaires in my life through different businesses. But getting through to these people, so for example, you mentioned getting through to Lloyd's Bank, right? Now, I'm a qualified financial advisor. I don't advise anymore on finance, but I'm a qualified one, right? So one of the challenges is getting through to these people. Even though I have been able to through different businesses, it's not easy. It's just none of that process is easy. Getting through a decision maker at the level of 100 million plus or a billionaire. Can that be made easy? And if so, what are your thoughts? Or slightly easy?
Yeah, look, yes, it can, right? What you've got to figure out and you've got to understand is how the company runs itself. So let me give you an example of B&Q. So when we started selling to B&Q, actually, I'll tell you a true story. So we started selling these loft storage stilts that go up in your loft and allow you to build a platform to B&Q. So when I said we started doing plasterboards and so on, that was the first product we put into B&Q. So I was on a stand trying to get other companies to use to sell it to Travis and other people at like one of those like at the NEC style event.
Yes.
And this guy came onto the store and started saying, "Oh, I've seen that in B&Q. How's it going? It's really innovative and new." And I was like, "Yeah, it's a cool product." He goes, "Oh, what was it like getting into B&Q?" And I go, "Oh, they're a fucking nightmare. They were so slow. It took us a year from when they wanted to say yes to actually getting the product." And he started asking me more and more questions about B&Q and what I thought of them and the processes. And after about 20 minutes of this, He goes, "Do you know who I am?" I go, "No, but I think you're someone really important at B&Q." And he said, "Yeah, I'm the CEO. I'm the new CEO." And I was like, "Oh shit," right? And he goes, "No, no, don't worry. I like you. Tell me um, how you would fix this if you were doing this, coming from a supplier's perspective." So then I said, "Look, we sell some stuff into Home Depot. This is their system, way smoother and way easier than what you've done." And I explained to him how it could be implemented into B&Q. And he was like, "Okay, great. I want you to put this product," so he pointed to another product that we have, "into B&Q in 28 days. And lots of people are going to ring you, tell them what they need to do." So
Yeah.
that's how we then grew that business from sort of 800K to 30 million in less than 18 months, because we ended up helping them to bring lots of products in. So we fixed an underlying problem that they had, and their underlying problem was they could not bring new products into B&Q easily. It was too complicated, the way their
Yeah.
systems. So we fixed that. Now, in general, if you're able to fix a big company's problem, they love you for it.
Yeah.
They want you to then work with them. The biggest mistake and the thing I see people fail with working with big companies is they don't understand whose job it is. They'll go to Fred and say to Fred, "Take my product, it's really cool." And Fred's got a fear here now, because Fred is like, I don't know. So I've got a background in IT, right? So there used to be this saying, "No one ever gets fired for buying IBM." Okay. So when I was working as a software architect, and I wanted uh, what company? I wanted a different computer server for our radar that we were going to be, because it was faster. It would mean the software ran quicker, and we could design stuff better. And the guy who was allocating what hardware wasn't agreeing. So I went to see him and I said to him, "Look, I want to use this machine, not it's a DEC machine, DEC. I want to use that machine, not the IBM machine." And he goes, "Look, Hanif, I'll be honest with you. If I buy and specify the deck machine and it screws up, uh, I'm going to lose my job. If I specify the IBM machine and something goes wrong, well, it's an
Yeah.
IBM machine. No one's going
Yeah.
to sack me for it."
Yeah.
When you understand that in business, you realize that most people are just working in a job. So you have to eliminate completely any risk that they have.
To them. Yeah.
Yes. So if you're going in with a new idea or something, you have to think, how can this be zero risk to the
Yeah.
company,
To them making a decision. Yeah.
but at the same time, if it works, be a massive boost to that person, because he's got to put the effort in to do it. So if you can show him he's going to hit his targets and increase them massively, but there is zero risk if anything goes wrong, he's all for it. So to give you a really simple idea, if I wanted to put this mug into Tesco,
Mhm.
and I said to Tesco, "You can have this mug, and it's going to sell really, really well. But if it doesn't, I'll take them all back." What's his risk? Zero. Okay. So that's why that's one very simple way to do it. Would I do that? Probably not, because you've got to build a business and you don't want to be exposed to them sending you 50 million pounds worth of mugs back, right? But the point is, you want to try and eliminate risk when you're dealing with these larger companies. Um, and then they are more than open to doing business with you. So that's the first thing I see. And then the second thing is understanding whose job it is to actually do this thing that you want. So often that job is not assigned to anyone. So let's say you've come along and you've got a new way of putting doors into buildings that will make it more efficient and cheaper. It's no one's job to go out and find a cheaper door. So how do you identify the person who's most likely going to be interested in taking that forward, and then working with them and and changing it from saying, "I'm going to show you how to make a door cheaper," to giving them what they need to show for their targets as an individual. But you really need to understand what each person's target is in the company.
That's interesting. One of the things I learned, Hanif sir, here is that if anyone was starting any kind of business, unless you can not scale it to a certain level without any ad spend, you must not start it, purely because your product in and itself needs to stand out to be able for you to be able to sell it quite easily. So that takes me to a question. A lot of people talk about finding a bigger problem and dealing with it. Most people struggle with the basics, right? Being able to be lucky enough that you and me are in a position to take bigger decisions because we worked hard through our initial years of our life and we've made money. A lot of people haven't. So irrespective of what stage someone could be at, how do you find a bigger problem and then being able to pull out the time to be able to create a prototype for it and then do market validation? Just the whole journey can be quite time consuming and painful, and can cost quite a bit as well, depending on what kind of product service that might be. What would you say to a person like that?
So, good question. So let me explain how we. So when people come to us and they want to start a business, but they don't know exactly what they should do and whether or not the problem is big enough, right? So the first thing I always say to people is write down everything that you're thinking about. So get a list of all the different potential problems that you think. Then next to each one, figure out the how big of a problem it is. And by that, I don't mean how many people want it. It's more how painful is this problem really to your customer that you think.
Yeah.
And then the very first thing is go talk to two customers and ask them what would they pay if you fix that problem. If they say, oh, actually I do this or I do that and it's not that painful, look for another problem. And that's zero cost, right? It's just your
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's time. Yeah.
Time, right? Once you've figured that out and you know you've got a problem that somebody really cares about and wants to get fixed, then see how many people actually have that same problem. So if it's a problem for estate agents, how many estate agents are there? Okay, there's plenty. Do they all have the same kind of problem? Yes. Okay, the market is big enough. I can fix that problem and make money in that market. But the thing to remember is the initial problem that you're fixing is not necessarily the final problem that you're going to fix. Okay. And it's
Yes.
also not
Yeah, that's true.
necessarily, it's just the first step to get
Yes.
where you want to go, right?
Yes.
So you have to, so for example, again, if we talk about faces, we fixed the problem of consent forms. How much did we charge for our app? Zero. It was a free app. We could make no money from consent forms. So how did we make money? We make money because we created a marketplace on the back of that so the clinics can buy the products they need for the consent forms. So every day, 5,000 or 10,000, whatever it is, consent forms are filled in through our app. We then notify those people, oh, look, you need to buy these, this, and this. Come to our marketplace. We've got special offers. You can buy them. And that's where we make 5 million or so. We now have 6 million consent forms. So the data itself we have on all these people and what they use, we can resell and do stuff with and
Yeah. Yeah.
have insights to.
Yeah.
So when you're creating a business, you're not necessarily thinking about where this business is going to be when it's 100 million. Think about where this business is going to be to get to 100 grand, then to a million, then to 10 million, and then to 100 million. And every time you get to the next stage, you have to break the business that you currently have and rebuild it.
Oh, yeah.
The problem most people start thinking is I'm building a £5 million business. I want it to be 5 million. I want it to be 10 million. What do I need? How should I build the structures? What's the reporting mechanisms, the KPIs? All of that is a waste of time. Build the business initially to get you to the million. Then you're going to have to rebuild it. And the truth is the people that you bring who take your business to a million are not necessarily the same people who are going to take it to 10 million, because they have a different, they want chaos, they want things changing, trying to figure out what the customer wants. They love that kind of chaotic environment. But to take it to 10 million and beyond, you need execution. It's about executing on the thing that you found and executing on that problem and delivering very clearly and consistently to your customer. And that's a different type of person. So what we tend to do is we bring people in who are great for the chaotic thing, and then we move them to the next company to do the chaos there. And we bring different people in to do the entrepreneurial, or sorry, the execution part of the growth of the business. And it's really because it's very difficult for that person who likes the chaos, who loves the doing 15 different jobs, to saying just do this one job. You're in charge of marketing, and they're like, no, I want to do marketing, and I want to do advertising, and I want to do this. So understand that it's part of the growth of your business, and you will have to churn some of those people out. Be fair, be realistic, and make sure it's what they want. But some of them will stay and become head of marketing or whatever. But most people who work for you at the start will not want to work for you later on, because it's a different type of business.
It's a different type of business. Right. Now, I could have this discussion for the rest of the day with you, sir. Like, I'm very, very deeply into all of this, in the middle of execution, and I get thrown everything that we just discussed all the time. But I'm gonna have to cut this short because it's statistically proven people like to watch half-an-hour videos. So we're gonna probably do this again. So thank you for being with us. This was absolutely amazing. Gold for those who are in this space or potentially aspiring to be in this space, looking to grow their portfolio, either a property or business portfolio. So yeah, this is Jack Dobra Show. Make sure you subscribe wherever you see this video, and we will see you on the other side.